All right, so we're going to test the full workflow here end to end from booking to follow-up emails. Let's see how it goes. So we're going to input some dummy information. So I said create a dummy submission for James Smith, just a dummy name. And I put my a test email that I have on my Gmail. So I'm going to go ahead and give that to Claude Code. So we can go ahead and get rid of that. The information should show up here in the intake form. There it does, right here. So I can pull that open, and you can see here's the form submission details for this dummy submission. So now what's happening behind the scenes is I have a few agents running. The first agent now is this one. It's called the intake to session agent. You can see what it's actually doing line by line here. So it's going to read the intake submission form. It's going to search Google Calendar for the matching session event, which it's right here. It's then going to create the session page. It's going to set the restaurant meeting location based on the intake form submission answer that they asked for, which neighborhood they want to be in, and then it'll update the calendar invite. So if I go ahead and refresh this, it's now updated. So we have a location set there. So that's all done. I didn't touch anything, and the location has been updated on the calendar event. And here on the left, you can see it's complete now. So now it updated this session to James Smith to intake complete. So now that this session has been created, the status is set to intake complete. That's going to trigger our prep agent, which is this one, who's now running at the moment, to follow a bunch of instructions to do its job. It's going to first read the intake form submission, extract all the customer data, which is what problems they're having, what tools they're using, what goals they have, all of those things, so it can build out a session plan tailor-made for this customer. So it is now, the prep plan has now been written. And so now if I go here, and now you can see in the page itself for the session, I now have a full session plan for exactly the tools that they're using, what workflow they wanted to build. So it gives me kind of a plan going into each session as to what we're going to be doing. Okay, so from here, what I would do is I'm going to create a divider here and then create a meeting notes block. Just going to start this and stop it really quick just to get the transcript going here. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to actually have AI go ahead and create a dummy transcript for us. So I just told AI, well, since we're not having the meeting at this moment, go ahead and just create a dummy transcript like we would have a normal meeting. So in these sessions, I plan on recording them. That way I can get the transcript into this session page. That way it just really enhances the context that Notion has, and it helps write, every subsequent page from here on out. So like follow-ups and resource pages will all kind of stem from here. So as much data as I can get in as possible, the better. So let's see how this is doing. Still writing the transcript. So I'm going to copy all of this. It's not quite done yet. It's really making a long transcript here. Okay, cool, I got it now. So now I'm going to paste the transcript into the meeting block. I'm also just going to change the meeting name to this. Okay, and now summary, and now I can retry the summary. So we got a full transcript of essentially what was discussed and what was set up during the during this session. From there, Notion AI is going to then basically pull out or extract all the detail from the transcript. And I made a custom, what is it called? A custom instructions for these sessions. So it'll pull out the overview, the tools, what we built. Let's see what else we got. So very detailed here. The automations, what they did. So if we built multiple different workflows, it'll go ahead and include all of those. Some customer questions and answers. So if they had specific questions and how I answered them from the transcript, I'll include that. Key moments. It looks like that's about it. Next steps, stretch goals. Oh, still going a little bit more. So quite a bit of detail here, but really getting all this like rich context in here is really important. Okay, so now that that is done, let's pretend like the session is now over and this has been automatically generated. I can now change the status from prepped to session complete, and that is going to now trigger the next agent. Let me close this one out, which is going to send a follow-up email with resources. So just like I said, getting all that context in is really important on what we built. Now is when we're going to put that to use. So this agent is going to read and intake all of that context and package it all up into an email that I'll send to the customer with kind of what we built, what tools we used, next steps in an easy to follow resource guide. So you can see it's loading the intake form. I like to give it access to the intake form as well, because that is really the initial pain point that the customer had, sharing what their goals were, kind of what they initially wanted to build. And then it's also going to be looking at the session, all the session detail, and then drafting a Gmail follow-up email. And it's going to be putting it into my drafts folder in my inbox. So it's working on this now. Just refresh this. It's not quite done yet. Okay, he's got all the data it needs. So now it's creating the draft. You can always expand these to kind of see what it's actually working on. Okay, and there's the draft. So it says, hey, James, really great meeting up with you today. Here's a recap of the tools we set up, what we built, and where to go from here. So the tools we set up were all of these. And again, these are all based on initially what the customer was trying to build and what pain points they had, and then the prep plan of what tools we installed on their computer, and then this is what we built. What actual workflows and automations did we actually build? And then next steps down here. So this is what they can do on their own without my help. So I'm going to go ahead and ship that. Cool. So I sent that. And then if I go back to here, you can see that email is actually now included in the page itself. I like to do that just to give, again, more context to the session as possible. So kind of tying everything back to this session. So if at any point I needed to go and ask questions regarding this session, I could just talk to Notion AI, point it at this session, and it will have everything it needs to help me. So from there, next step is I'll then just say a thank you email. So this will trigger the final agent, which will then go and kind of do a similar walkthrough of reading the intake form, reading the session data, and that's what it's doing now. Let me go ahead and close that one. And then it's going to create a thank you email. And this is supposed to be sent about a week after the resource email is sent. So it's going to go ahead and it's actually going to go ahead and append a reply to the resource email that I sent, let's call it a week ago. So it's getting the email, it's getting James's email from the intake form, the email address. It's reviewing my voice DNA, which is just kind of my tone and style. It's grabbing the email thread. It might get a little tripped up here because I sent the email just now and it's supposed to be sent a week after. But let's see what it does. Oh no, it's doing it. So it's creating the draft right now. It should show up in my drafts. There it is. Okay. So here's my original email. And then here is my new draft. Hey James, just wanted to quickly check in and say thanks again for our session last week. How's the email to ticket agent holding up? So this is specific to this customer. Curious if those, actually this part too, curious if those Jira tickets are landing in the right priority and assignee. So that is specifically based on what we built, email to ticket triage agent. And that's all automated agents. I don't really believe in having AI like write everything. Some of this I hard coded in, but adding in a bit of extra context and I think it just makes it a bit more personal. I did the one-on-one session. I recorded everything. I know it all, but it's really nice to also know that the agent knows it all as well, and so it can just add these little touches where needed, which is really great. So then I just also have a final thing, giving like a promo code to set up their next agent. These are all dummy prices and codes and stuff like that for now, but I'll go ahead and create those later. So I can then go ahead and ship that, and now I've got the whole flow. That was it. So the customer booked the session. They got the email to fill out the intake form. They fill out the intake form. The agent set up the session. It booked the location. The next agent then prepped a session plan for me. I then recorded the session. The agent then built a resource email, which then I sent to the customer. And then the next agent then built a thank you follow-up about a week later. So I think that's pretty good flow. A little bit of, I'm involved in a few steps there by just kind of toggling a few things, but for the most part, I'm not having to write documentation or rehash a whole lot of stuff that we went over in the session, but it is all documented and shared with the customer, which is what I want. So that's it. That's the whole flow. The only last bit I have is invoicing automation. So billable hours, session rate, then the session rate is applied, and then setting that up with Stripe. I think that's going to be kind of a half a day's worth of work. So that'll probably be for another day. But in terms of the full end-to-end flow of booking a session, I think that is it.